Welcome back to Brush Up Your Game, and today we have Rankum of Worf. With 13 versions of a character card. Yes, you heard that right, 13 versions. Tristan and I figured this is a character we got to take a look at. So, Tristan, welcome, and I'm excited to have you, and let's talk some Worf.
Yeah, hi David. Let's talk Worf.
Yes.
That's my Gowron impression,
Ah,
and that's why I don't do voiceovers. So, but yeah, there's quite a bit here. Worf is definitely one of my favorite characters. And he's got some really good cards, and he's got some really not so good cards. So we got to sort through all those.
yeah, and before I hit record, I was telling Tristan, I said, I feel like I've lived through the evolution of Worf in Attack Wing. His early versions are bad, there's some in between stuff, and new versions are fantastic.
Yeah,
Spoilers, but
uh, kind of funny looking. Oh, yeah, there is a very early version of Worf. I was thinking that, because we were talking about how kind of that mimics his evolution as a character, almost kind of an afterthought maybe in season one, the guy who gets just beat up upon when they need to show strength of their enemy, and
yeah.
finally becoming just so integral by the end of Deep Space Nine. But I was checking to see if actually is there a season one version of Worf. I don't see
I
any
don't
of him in the
believe
very
so.
early, yeah, the very early red uniform there.
Yeah,
But
we need
uh,
a version of him sitting at ops in his red shirt, or or standing behind Tasha at
yeah,
the
exactly.
alt
Yes.
security station, just
Yeah.
being like, I am a Klingon. I did not sign up for remedial duty.
There should be a Tasha Worf like flip card. You at some
Ooh,
point you can discard Tasha to do something protective, and then you flip Worf over, and then he becomes your new tactical officer.
I like it. And I
Oh,
fully expect within a week of this airing that the custom content creators will have that done for
let's
us.
do it.
So, all right. Well, let's kick it off with number 13.
Yep.
We talk about there being the good, the bad, and I'm having to actually find the bad. Why do I feel like I'm missing a card here already? It's not that one.
No, I think you got 13 there. It looks like.
Yeah. Um, yes, that's the one. Okay.
No, there, yep. Yep.
See, it was so bad, I forgot that it existed. I was like, yeah. So for me, this version of Worf, when attacking a ship with no active shields, you may disable this card to gain an extra attack die, and then you don't get any defense dice for the round.
Yep.
It's just a bad trade off. It's one extra attack die. It's an action if you ever want to use it again. So really, it's a one time effect. Else, it's an action for an attack die that has so many conditions. Plus, you're losing defense. I can't get on board with it. It just hurts me too much.
Yeah, he's not much higher on my list here. But the, the reason I have the mirror version of Crew Wharf here, it's not that he's a bad ability. I mean, there's a condition there, but it's really easily satisfied.
Hmm.
But it's way too overcosted. There are at least two cards I can think of right off the top of my head in the Klingon faction, Kunavas and Klingon Gunner, that basically do the same thing. There actually isn't any condition on them to
Right.
add that extra dice, and they're half the cost. So even if you want to cross faction him, either one of those two Klingon cards onto a mirror ship, it's still cheaper than running War faction pure. And so I just don't see any practical reason that you'd ever want to run this card. I guess unless you're doing faction pure and you really want that extra damage, but just way too much to justify the ability there. It has to be cheaper. So
Yeah. I will say this is a bit higher on my list, and I'll talk about it more when we get there.
fair enough.
All right, that brings us to number 12. And well, there you go. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, I mean, I, I I like the card in the sense that it doesn't require an action. I've said before I like passive abilities where I don't have to use that action to make it happen.
Sure.
I can see in a situation, especially now with the ability for cards for ships to have extra movement, Romulan cloaking device, or you have your you know you have those extra maneuvers that you can pull off to
Hmm.
get behind your opponent, and maybe where you wouldn't be at risk of having to defend, where maybe then you could use that. But you're only talking one attack die, and there are a lot of better ways to do that. So, it just if this was a 1 point card, yeah, I might consider that. If it wasn't called W.O.R.F, maybe it'd be worth it. But there are just too many good versions of Crew W.O.R.F to make this worth my while, in a Klingon build especially.
Yes. I was actually going to say that. If this wasn't named Worf, I'd consider it. Still not amazing, but I'd at least consider it. Yeah, so I went for the 4 skill Captain Worf. And first off, no talent. Feels a touch overpriced. But just being able to roll a couple extra defense dice for the cost of an Ox power token for each die that you roll, uh, it's a heavy price if you ever want to
Mhm.
take an action again. Yeah, I just there's so many better Captain Worf versions out there, and this one just suffers from opportunity cost. And I I like the ISS Defiant. I like I think it's the Talkir that give me an evade for an Ox power
Yeah.
token, but
Mhm.
an extra defense die for an Ox power token, I like certainty rather than chance.
Or yeah, or another good example would be enhanced hull plating for the NX
Yep,
class. Yeah, you get those guaranteed evades. So
exactly. Give me something worth my while for the Ox power. I mean,
mhm.
the good is it's when defending, so you can use this every time you get shot and just never ever ever take an action again for the rest of the game. But it's a tough trade off.
Yeah, yeah,
So either way, I just I can't give any love to that version of Worf.
yeah. He definitely is not a very skillful captain.
No. Um sorry. Yeah, it's this one. So there we go. Synergy.
There we go. Yep.
So our collective number 11 is Crew Worf, which is action. Target a ship at range 1. That ship rolls 2 less attack dice this round. Yeah, for me, really, this is only 1 less attack die because it's
Mhm.
negating the range 1. Plus, it has to be a ship at range 1 at the time that you take the action, so it's very dependent on captain skill. And this really isn't that much better than just taking the evade action.
Yeah. I said before, I'll probably say it again. When you're asking me to take an action that doesn't somewhat enhance my ability to destroy my opponent, it has to be a really good action. Um, and this is just not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very conditional. Like you said, it's really only one less die. I guess it's nice that if that ship were going to have multiple attacks that round, it would mitigate that. But that's not a huge concern most of the time. Maybe it will be when Disruptor Sweep comes out. I don't know, but and I also think it's also just not very on theme. I mean, this is the Worf that came in the Defiant pack.
Right.
It's this is not an ability that screams DS9 Commander Worf of the Defiant. So,
No, it's
but we
not.
will see basically this exact same picture on Captain Worf a little bit later. So they make up for it.
Yeah, I think they realized, oh, we did Worf wrong.
Yes, definitely. Maybe that's like Rise of Worf. You know, that one the one time Worf was out of character. That's where he that's where he's coming from.
Perhaps. All right, let's move on to number 10. Okay, so you have lined up with my captain.
Hmm.
Do you have much to add there?
Yeah, the reason I have him a little bit higher is I feel like that there are some ways that maybe this would work. I mean, there are some cards that you would want to have Aux tokens. You could pair him with Chatarg to keep your cloak up. You have the new reactor vent tech from Alliance 2 that it'll eat a Aux token to potentially do damage to your opponent. I do have a very weird build that put him on ISS Avenger because the Avenger wants those Aux tokens to give it more firepower.
Okay, yeah,
It's a build that you don't. It's an actionless build, so you don't care if you have the Aux tokens basically. But for the most part, yeah, he's very limited. Otherwise, he doesn't have elite talent slot. It's not even guaranteed that he's going to help on your defense. So it's a high price to pay.
it is. So I put in, I call him the target lock disable
Hmm.
Worf, and that's what he is. He's a disable to reroll your entire attack roll, and you have to reroll the entire roll. It's not pick and choose. He's worse than a target lock, and at this point, I just rather have tactical officer from Alliance, which is a
Sure.
functional target lock. Basically does the same thing but better. I think maybe costs one more point.
Yeah.
But I'll pay the point for that. In fact, gosh, this Worf could have been even lower because he's that bad. I just the number of times that I have such a bad roll that I need to re-roll the entire roll is maybe like once every 2 to 3 games. And even then, how likely is it that it's going to be on Worf's ship?
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's
Hmm.
my like it just doesn't line up. Interesting guy for a mission though. I will say it's not like he's completely unredeemable. Just tough
Yeah,
to pull off.
I mean, anytime you could potentially improve your attack quality, it's not a entire loss there. But yeah, I totally agree with everything you've said.
Yeah, I keep finding reasons I'd like him less, but I don't know. I like these three guys even less. It's tough. Yeah. All right. So number 9. I There we go.
Yep.
All right.
Bump. Okay.
So I'll let you go since you're doubling up here with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I like it from the perspective that again, it's not an action you have to spend. It can potentially salvage a bad roll, or if for some reason you weren't able to generate any other, quality, re-rolls or conversions during that attack. But having to force you to re-roll everything and then keep it, it's very limiting. Yeah, your tactical officer is better. Tasha Yar from the yesterday's Enterprise would be better.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's just a lot of better ways to squeeze quality for around 3 to 4 points. That and again, there are better warps to do quality rerolls and conversions and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That just doesn't make sense to run this, you know, in any practical sense.
Right. Well, so for my number 9, I went with the Mirror Captain at skill 3 here. And don't get me wrong, I like this effect. I like the Admiral a whole lot more. But
Yep.
it's just a little limiting because to target a friendly ship at range 1 to 2 with a hull value of 3 or less, and put an Ox power token beside that target ship. Captain skill 3 is what hurts this
Yeah.
captain. And it's almost an insult to the regent of the mirror universe, the Klingon Cardassian alliance, to be like, okay, your leader is skill 3. Really? You sure about that? But lore aside, no, it's a good ability. It's just, if you're running this, you're not running the Admiral, and the Admiral's what you should be running
Hmm.
because it's a much more flexible version. This means that the ship that Worf's on, I have to use their action to pull off the effect, and if I bump or anything happens, I can't do it. Plus, I'm just at a bad captain skill.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
love the fact that I get an elite talent at skill 3, though. That's almost unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, 2 points and three. I think we'll see that in one of our next rankings here with another captain. But yeah, it's pretty rare.
It
So
is. Yeah. And I'm probably a little too harsh on that card, but I don't know. I think it fits.
you'll see it pop up pretty soon. I don't think you're that far off.
Okay. So my number 8 is Hathaway Worf. This guy is 5 points, win defending. You can disable the card. The attacking ship rules: one fewer attack die, cannot spend battle station or target lock ships to modify its attack, and you get your full defense in spite of a scan token. There's a decent amount I like here. It's, again, he's expensive, and he's not the Worf that I reach for in a lot of these builds that I consider. I guess I just don't quite know where he fits. There's protection builds, but protection builds tend not to have the space for Worf to exist. And that's maybe a shame. Maybe they should, because this is a pretty good card, but I struggle to make him work.
Yeah, he's very expensive, and that's his major flaw.
It's almost like if he still suffered the defense penalty because of a scan token and he could be a little cheaper, I'd feel better about that.
Yeah.
Or even if the attacking ship got their full attack complement, but they just couldn't spin battle station or target lock tokens, I'd feel better about that. I don't know. It's like he does too much, which is awesome, but you pay for it.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely do.
You're not just buying the pocket Swiss Army knife, you're buying the big one with everything in it. And you don't always need that. So, all right, Tristan, why did Mirror Captain Worf from All Good Things fall into your number 8 slot?
Yeah, I mean, so the ability is good, but again, it's not amazing. 6'4" captain. You see a lot of those elite talent slot, which is nice. Um, you get the Ox power token to get those extra attack die. Again, to spend your action to get that extra die. Now you have to look somewhere else to get quality. Plus, you have to figure out what you're going to do with that Ox token.
Yeah.
There's just too much going on there to just for 2 dice. I mean, there's again so many ways to gain extra dice in the game through use of comboing with other cards and stuff. I'd rather try to get those dice somewhere else and worry about my equality and not have to take an Ox token at the same time.
I understand. I do. I have a soft spot for this captain that's ways a little higher up for me, but he's not that much higher. I'll say that. So, all right. Well, at number 7, I finally line up with
Okay.
the bottom of your rankings. You're going, how much higher is David going with this guy?
I forgot about that card already.
I don't blame you. It is the lowest of your list. You're allowed to forget about it. Here's why I rank this Worf as highly as I do. I have come to value being able to inflict an extra damage during the deal damage step. Because this is after we've done compare results. I know exactly how much damage I'm doing.
Mhm.
And so unlike a Kunivas or a Klingon gunner where I'm just adding a hit result blindly, maybe you are going to use an interface generator and cancel my attack. Maybe you're cloaked and you just roll poorly. I get a few hits through. Now I can add one more. I don't have to play any guessing games. I agree with you. He's overpriced. But I think there's something valuable to that, to absolute certainty of knowing that I'm not wasting damage. I'm not going to use this and overkill you, but I'm going to use this to maybe precisely kill or line it up just right. Maybe I'll be able to take out your last shield this way. And now a ship that was dependent on cloak can't cloak anymore. So there are some good uses. Again, not amazing, not perfect, but I think there's times where he is good.
I can appreciate that. Yeah. Uh, for my side of things here, pretty much everything that you said previously about this card stands. I think the main issue I have is the captain skill. I didn't really think too much about it from the thematic standpoint, but more from just the fact of you know how I want to set this action up would be to have the friendly ship that's attacking would move first into position, and then allow Worf to take that action afterwards.
Right.
So I want to have the same captain skill, or or I want to have this Worf to be slightly above, so I can do those one after another. So at least with the Admiral, you can set that up however you want. Here, you're kind of stuck with either that ship is going to attack before it moves, so maybe it's not in the prime position that you want, or you have to have another really lousy captain, and that's not ideal either. So
No. No, because I think we can name the number of skilled 2 or 3 captains that are actually worth something on one hand.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And one hand's probably generous. We should probably do that rank them at some point. But
yeah. The Captain Dunsel ranking.
yes,
Yeah.
but not today. All right. That brings us to number 6. And okay. You want to take the Hathaway Wharf away here?
Yeah, this the more I look at this wharf, the more I do like it. I do agree it's too expensive. I wish it was 4 points, um, but I keep thinking about putting him like on the Prometheus build. That's already a tanky ship, and now you're making your opponent not use any quality reroll or battle station tokens. You taking away a little bit of the attack die. You have that scan buff there. I just think it'd be it could be on the right build. Could be a lot of fun. He's got a lot going on. Obviously, not every attack that he's defending against is going to maybe benefit from that token denial, because you could be running that version of Captain Worf against him where it doesn't rely upon that for rerolls. But
Right.
um, I think it could be really monstrous in the right defensive build to be able to deny that, because how often do you see now people having the ability to take both a target lock and a battle station, and they're rolling 6 7 dice and they're getting almost near perfect quality every attack, and now you take that away, and now statistically they're only going to get half of that. It could be a real game changer, especially if you can find a way to re-enable them every turn. So
Yeah, which you can. Julian Bashir's out there.
Julie Bashir, yep,
That
MRES, yep.
that's the easy way. So
Hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, I went with the Klingon reroll captain, and I did like this card. When attacking, you can reroll all of your blank results one time. But he suffers from being a Klingon captain. And if you reroll your blanks and you don't have battle stations, you're in a world of hurt. Plus, the number of times we've all rerolled blanks and gotten back blanks is probably too many to name and too many to think about. But I ran him a fair bit early in the game, and he still holds up. He's a decent captain, but he's definitely a tier below the newer, better Captain Worfs. I yeah, I I find what he does at least reasonable, but I want quality guaranteed, or at least the ability to have some certainty. But a reroll of a single or well of all my blanks is not guaranteed anything.
Yeah, I do wish he had an elite talent slot.
That would help too. All right. So number 5. This is where we start getting a touch crowded. Here.
There we go.
Okay, so number 5. This is where I bring in the mirror captain. Uh, I'll say I have a soft spot for running him on the ISS Avenger. I like him there. I think he works really, really,
Yeah,
really
that's a good point.
nicely there. Uh, he's not amazing, but he's really cool in missions. The right kind of mission, he does work. And the nice thing is, since he is mirror, you can run this Worf with any Prime Universe Worf, and you haven't violated uniqueness. So that's at least a different consideration.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't I don't have a ton to say other than he's here. He jumps a few cards because of the soft spot that I have for him.
Fair enough. Um, I got 2 point crew wharf here, and I really like this card. I do use it a lot. I considered placing him even higher. I think what limits him is just the ability is nice. So +1 captain skill for any captain, +3 for a Klingon captain. So
Mm-hmm.
that gives you a lot of versatility. Even if you like say you want to run core, but you don't want to run all the Dahar masters to get the his to max out his captain skill. Well, you can just place Worf on there with him,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Um, but that's kind of all he has. He's optimized for Klingons. His secondary ability. I mean, if he can take over for your captain if he's injured, I guess that's nice. But he's captain skill 5. That really doesn't mean a ton in the game. I could do without that. And he doesn't have like those that tertiary ability that the Riker does, where it can cancel out some of those critical damage cards that affect your captain. So great for 2 points. Great if you're going to run, Klingon captains and you want to maximize their ability. You can run them with the 7 skill Martok that gives a 1 point discount to Klingon cards, and now he's just 1 point, and he's adding 3 captain skill. I think that's a great value. But
Yes,
beyond that, I mean, there's nothing flashy here. So
there isn't, but uh, well, he ends up being my number 4.
there you go.
So we're pretty much in line here. Yeah, I like this card. He certainly had his day in the sun. For a long time, he was like, okay, I'm going to use this Worf with a Gowron to
Mhm.
bump up the skill or not Gowron, Martok with Admiral Gowron, bump up the skill,
Mhm.
give out the battle station token. There's a lot going on. Have a tiny bit of captain protection, but that's okay. Don't really need it. It's more that he's cheap and he gives me the skill in the arms race for high captain skill. That being said, He's really good at what he does. There's a few more cards that have done similar abilities like this that are probably better than this Worf, but he's still a pretty solid option for captain skill boosting and definitely one of the best for Klingons.
Certainly, yeah, always a consideration if you're running Klingons. I got here the Admiral Worf, and then you see you don't have it much higher there. Again, great ability. There's some great three-hull ships that you can target with. Sao Paulo is the obvious one, or a Burrell, or even now the new Sabers, things like that. Much more versatile as an admiral. Even if you're cross-faction him for 5 points, I still think an extra attack at 5 points is probably worth it. That's how much you'd be spending for an Auburn Tane or something like that anyway. So, but yeah, I think it's very solid. There's a reason that this version of Worf was banned in the Fremont League for a year or two.
For a
He's just
while,
very
yeah.
good for a while. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm absolutely with you. There are great three hull ships now that this works on, uh, at least targeting on. I think that one ship people are missing out when they say, "Oh, I don't know what to run him on." I think what you do is you put him on, and I'm scrolling through to make sure I've got the name correct here. Uh, One, you can put him on the USS Defiant NCC 1764. That's always a
Yeah, that's
good
a good one. That's a good one.
option. You can also put him on the AMAR.
That's a good one too.
Though, and while those are not whole three ships, they're whole four, and it makes it for a decent carrier ship for him. And I think that's what he needs. I mean, you can always put him on Regent's flagship, but you and I have both kind of been there and said, it's not really the Nagvar class that you're looking for.
No, not at all.
But that being said, there are mirror universe ships out there that still hold up that Worf can exist on, and you're not losing a ton. You can also put them on the Kelvin Constitution class ships, and
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
he's got some good options to just exist, and then you don't have to pay the extra 3 points. You could if you
Sure.
wanted to. But yes, he's absolutely a solid option, and I think the more whole three ships you can bring in your fleet, the better off you are. I'm intrigued why I haven't heard him talked about more when people talk about running Brel swarms. He just seems like a natural fit. Get an extra attack out of things.
Yeah, that'd be very nice. Or the new Saber Swarm
Yeah, same.
build that have come up too. Yeah.
Just it's one extra attack which can make all the difference.
Yeah, and especially in a Burrell Swarm where you're gonna probably end up running a lot of low skill or generic captains
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get that attack in first would be very useful.
It would absolutely be useful. So, things to think about.
All right. So I like to try to generate some controversy or some controversy for our UK viewers. Um, and I think putting this Worf below the other Captain Worf maybe might be it. Uh, Still very high up there. It's a great captain. I'm not arguing that. Six skill, 4 points, got the elite talent slot. It's a dual faction. It might be the only Fed Klingon dual faction card. I'm not 100% certain on that, but it would definitely fit the theme for Worf that he bridges those two worlds. His ability
Yeah.
is fantastic. You're never going to have a bad attack with Worf as long as you have a battle station because he's always going to be able to convert something into something else. And if you can get two battle stations, then you have perfect quality. He's a natural fit for the Sao Paulo, and I feel he's kind of pigeonholed for that reason. I'm trying to. I've been thinking about this, going through his rankings, trying to remember. Have I seen this version of Captain Worf run on something other than the Sao Paulo in recent memory, and I can't because there's such a natural fit, but it also means that's really where he's going to be, and there's less flexibility there. You could obviously put battle hardened, the elite talent on with him to generate two battle station tokens if you want to get a perfect attack as well. And now you're talking an extra 4 points. And the Klingon side, his ability just does not make sense for Klingon. And I've tried to use him there. You can obviously generate battle station tokens in limited capacity with Klingon ships, but really the Klingons are better at finding ways to convert battle stations without a token. You have Drex and Garen, the new weapons officer.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, this Worf ability just is never going to be triggered on a Klingon ship. So I feel like that dual faction is kind of wasted there as well.
I want to say I think the reason he was given dual faction is to let him run the talents that could only be equipped to a Klingon captain.
That's a good point. Sure.
And also throughout Deep Space Nine, while he didn't have a Klingon ship to himself, he was Martok's first officer.
Sure.
For times, he was the Defiant's first officer. He captained the Defiant, etc. He was all over the place in the Dominion War. But
thematically, it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
His ability does not really gel with how Klingons are gonna run.
No, not unless you're purpose building it with like the what is it? Admiral Gowron will do it.
Yeah, Gowron. You could use Dukat's Bird of Prey. You could use Devul. There are definitely ways you can do that. But again, it's kind of like you're limiting him to a very small subset of ships. Just like he's kind of stuck on the Sao Paulo on the Federation side, and then he'd be stuck on Dukat's Bird of Prey, or he'd always have to be run with Gowron on the Klingon side.
Yeah. You could also run him with new starter Picard, the one that gives out the battle station tokens.
Sure.
But again, do you want to be dependent on that? I do like the battle hardened play, but that gets expensive.
Yeah, you're talking 8 points now for a six skill captain.
9, because it's cross faction.
But if you're running them on Klingon, sure. Yeah, I was thinking if you're putting them on another Fed ship. But so 8 to 9 points. And then if you're putting on Klingon, then you still got to generate. You still have to worry about where's that battle station coming from. And there's just a lot of work that goes into that. Granted, perfect quality. I like knowing that I'm going to hit someone with 5, 6, 7 damage. Every attack, but it's very expensive at that point.
At that point, I'd rather run him on the mirror Klingon warbirds. Put him on the Suvul or the Amar. There you go. There is actually a home for him. That's a Klingon ship that does have a built-in battle station.
Yeah, or you could put them on D7s, but they're pretty fragile. But I always forget about those Klingon warbirds have what I think is the epitome of the Klingon action bar, right? Has a battle station, has cloak, and it doesn't have any sense of retreat in it. There's no evade.
There's no evade, and who needs scanning?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That is the Klingon action bar. All right, so and obviously that Worf was my number 2. And I do like him. The best place for him is the Sao Paulo, but I do think those mirror warbirds, the Kelvin warbirds, are a really good place for him.
Yeah, maybe a solid choice. Yeah,
and I think that's something people are missing out on. So
I think I don't think too much about him because I realize that we're doing this in a virtual environment, so it's unlimited. But in the real world, those things are so hard to acquire. I think they've become a bit of an afterthought in some sense. But which is unfortunate. I mean, I really do. When you think about it, the stats on those things are great, but they're just so few people have probably ever had a chance to actually use them in a real sense, and it's too bad.
It's crazy to me too, because I remember when that pack came out, it was in stock for a very long time, and
Yeah.
then it disappeared, and it stayed disappeared.
It seems to be the trend. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. So you bring in reroll your blanks. So I
yeah.
don't I
So,
don't love the ability. So convince me and others why this is amazing.
well, listen, maybe I'm reaching here. And like I said, I really, this card desperately needs an elite talent. I wish it had one. There's so many times I've tried to build out a ship with him, and it's like, oh, I want that one talent slot. 3 points, 5 skill, it's cheap. Yeah, again, I'm a big fan of passive abilities that do something. I don't have to worry about them. Um, you know, you can combine him with Drex, weapons officer, and Garen. I think that's a really nice combo. Again, you can't generate battle stations, but you can generate a battle station like effect for the same action, one that's arguably better because you're going to convert one of those to a critical hit. And Worf's going to help you clean up any of those blanks. So now it's essentially he is your target lock, effectively re-rolling the ones the results you don't want, and then Garen Drex is pulling that in from somewhere else. I also like putting him on the Chempex battle as attack cruiser, attack ship, battle cruiser.
Okay.
Uh, but I have a couple builds where I have now I have a Katinga swarm that has all the reinforced hull. Um, the faction pure version of that uses Chempex attack cruiser to generate battle station tokens, but it doesn't get one itself. So at least Worf is allowing some quality on the rerolls there with that. So in situations where maybe you don't have the option for quality, at least you're going to get something. And granted, it's not guaranteed, but I like him for that because he's cheap and he can be effective in some situations. Um, Probably is he better than the captain version of the dual faction version of Worf? Yeah, probably not.
Hmm.
But since I run more Klingon than anything else, I tend to lean towards him versus the Tempoli Go Captain Worf because I feel like he fits better in most of my builds. So
Hey,
that's
it's
that's the
your
Klingon in
list.
me.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. So
Plus you could always run Admiral Gowron with him.
yeah, I mean that's another great option as well. You can run Garon again. You can put him on Ducat's Bird of Prey. You can put him on Devul. Um, Devul is not a bad one because then you're also making sure that you're keeping your cloak up round
Yeah.
after round, right? So that's kind of nice. Um, you can put him on Devul with Torpedo Fusillade or the new Disruptor Sweep
Hmm.
and MRES, and now you're generating a lot of quality on multiple attacks and all sorts of fun things are going on there. So,
I was
um,
about to say he is one of the best captains you can run Torpedo Fusillade on.
sure. Yeah.
Bit low of skill, but aside from that,
Yeah,
great
I do
ability.
wish he was a little bit higher skill overall. I'm kind of surprised that we don't have a Worf that's at least touching 7 skill at some point, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll get the horror master version of Worf from Picard season 3, and he'll have a higher skill. I don't know.
Or the mysterious captain of the Enterprise Worf. It was not my fault. Well, clearly it was, Worf. You were in command when the ship went down.
Yeah, I'll be curious if they ever explain that.
I want to
If there's
I
an
want short
explanation.
treks to come back, and I want that to be one of
That'd be
them.
great. Yeah.
But I doubt it'll happen. That leaves us with the one card that we have not touched on, and take all the controversy that you want before here. I think a very clear, delineated number one.
Yeah, definitely. Really no question here.
I think the only downside is he can only be run on a Klingon ship.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few times I'd like to use them somewhere else.
Yeah, but if you're cloaked, you get to convert all blanks to hits. Is kind of a bummer that he costs 5 points, but he's really good at what he does.
Yeah, I mean he's expensive, but I mean, this in a battle station token is, guaranteed 100% quality every time.
Yeah.
Uh, and you can hide them under. I just in the most recent tournament here with Fremont, I hid him under Genesis effect, so you're saving a
Nice.
couple points there. So there's ways to get a discount with that Worf, but I mean, combine him with. I mean, there's so many different options. Combine him with animated core to get extra attack die and
Ooh,
get a
yeah.
battle station token somehow. Put him with the original series core where you can just do rerolls, and then you're just rerolling everything that's not a blank to get quality that way. So there's so much flexibility
Hmm.
with using this version um,
Or if you really
that
want, Drex plus Worf
yes,
and
Drex and War.
Torpedo Fusillade is all the
Yep,
hits.
yep. Yeah, yeah. If you're going to do multiple, yeah, disruptor sweep and torpedo fusillade are going to, they benefit so much from this as well,
Yeah.
with Drexler and Garen and things like that. There's, it's almost hard to justify running any other wharf when you have this one available to you, and if you're going to do a Klingon ship.
Well, you can still run a Mirror Worf, which is
You could,
the
yeah,
good side. And I feel like people have forgotten that. Like Mirror Unique is its own uniqueness.
yeah.
But no, this is very much like this is the best Worf out there. You can make an argument for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. There's definitely good versions of Worf. Then there's bad versions of Worf. Just yeah, highlighting. I think we can all agree that there's several bad versions of Worf.
Hmm.
And then there's good versions of Worf, and then there's very good versions of Worf, and I think Worf falls into three categories there, which is nice. So
The good, the bad, and the one that you want to run at the top.
yeah, I, it's tough. It's tough when we get a card that just is so much better than everything else.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm waiting for that transporter clone resource to come out someday so you can run two versions of a named or two versions of a unique persona in the same fleet.
That'd be nice.
Break all kinds of rules.
I'm surprised there isn't a resource already for that. If we ever get a, um, I can't, I'm blinking on the name now. Lower decks. If we ever get like a lower
Yeah,
decks faction pack, there should obviously be some sort of duplicate card involved there that would have some similar effect.
I would hope. I think it could be a lot of fun. So, all right. Well, those are our rankings of Worf. Uh, Let us know what you think. I know you haven't been shy on that. The people have spoken about Picard, but
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
it's
Well,
been
good.
fun.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that people are watching and I'm happy to see the responses and what other people think.
Yes,
It's great. There's so many different ways to play this game and that really I think influences how we approach these cards and value them. So
it does. And we're just two voices, but we just happen to be two voices who are out here talking. So that's where you can make your voice heard. Let us know in the comments. So, alrighty. Well, Tristan, as always, thank you. And
thank you.
I know we'll see you for Data and Jordy here shortly.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Thank you. Until next time, keep brushing up your game. Bye bye, everybody.